So today we are looking at how to do thread wrapping, and you can make little tassels, little words and all kinds of things, key rings. You might want to get yourself some earring backs and make some earrings. Yeah. You will need some wool. You might want some wire if you want to make certain shapes. We've got some keyring hooks we've sent you. You might also want to get yourself some earring hooks if you have your ears pierced, or it's also quite fun to put the tassels onto hoops. Some scissors and some cardboard. You also need a needle with a big eye that you can get your wool through. So the size of the cardboard that you start with will determine how big your tassel's going to be. So I'm going to cut this down a little bit. It's about 10 centimetres at the moment. And what you want to do is just wrap your wool, hold the first bit in place and then cover that first bit. You don't need to tie it on or anything. And the more wraps you do, the kind of bigger, fatter your tassel will be. You can decide. Oh, a bit of a knot there. I'm going to want to avoid that. There we go. You can count if you're making something like an earring. You might want to count how many you do, so you get both earrings the same. You could also have a longer piece and cut it in half. Just going to do a few more. It doesn't matter if you run out and you need to start again. Okay. Probably done about 30 there. I'm going to cut the end of it like that. Decide how big you want the tassel bits at the end, and then you're going to start your thread that you're wrapping around it in going towards the centre. So that tail is going towards the centre, and I'm going to start my wrapping here, and then you wrap it round and you pull. So this tail's here, and then I'm wrapping and I'm covering that tail that I've made. So I'm twisting and I'm pulling quite tight on it, and I'm trying not to have any gaps as I'm pulling. So I'm just pulling quite tight, holding it in my, so I'm wrapping with my stronger hand, my left hand, and I'm just holding it with my right hand. What you can start to do is bend it as you go. If you want to. So it doesn't matter if you get kind of halfway through and think, actually, that's as big as I want it to be, because you can just cut these to the same size. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to bend it round like this, and then wrap around the middle here. Once you've wrapped it round a few times, you can change colour. So this middle bit is a different colour. I'm going to grab a little bit of pink, and then can kind of hide the end of the grey one. In the same way, if you have the end of the pink one hanging down, we can cover that after. Cut that off after, I mean. So wrap it round. Cover the messy bits of the end. Then thread your needle and you just want to do a little knot through the centre. So I'm going to take my needle all the way through, decide which is going to be the back or the front, go back through again, and then do a little knot. So you go under one of the stitches. Before you pull it tight, take the needle through the loop, and then what I would do is take my needle so it goes all the way through, pull it quite tight, and then you can cut it off close to the threads. Cut off that little end, cut off the grey end, give the tassels a bit of a haircut so they're all the same level. So that's your first simple little tassel. You can kind of make this bushier by starting with more strands. This one I don't know, maybe like 50 to 100 strands I started with, and then you get a thicker loop on it. I've also changed colour as I go along, which I'll show you how to do in the second one. To do a knotted tassel like this, you want to start with a longer bit of wool. So I'm going to start with this longer bit of cardboard and wrap. You can add different colours into your tassel, make it multicoloured this stage as well, which is quite fun. That's probably enough. I'm going to cut it and cut it here. So then I should mix those purples in a bit more so they're not all in the same spot. So this is the length I'm going to start with, probably about 25 centimetres, but once you've done a few you'll kind of get used to what size they need to start at. We're going to start in the same way, so deciding where tassels to start, and then we're going to wrap. If you want to change colour, cut this one, leave the thread here kind of long and have it going that way, and then you start your new colour by laying it in the same manner we did before, so it's going the opposite direction, and then you just start wrapping. And I tend to do kind of 1 or 2 wraps over the last colour, so it's kind of like a seamless join, you don't get a little gap in between them. Remember to keep pulling it tight as you go. Once you get to the end and you're happy with the length of it and your design that you've done, you can leave this kind of longish for now, and then you're simply going to tie it in a knot. Put it quite tight. It's a bit better. There we go. And then finish it off in the same way we did the last one. So when you want to add your little creation, they're quite fun. They all end up different, like cute little jellyfish. You can add another bit of wool just to tie it on with. So a good way is to go through the strands with your needle and do a kind of knot. You could knot it like that, and then you've got these strands you can tie it onto something with. You can take your keyring and your jump ring. You want to feed this keyring thing onto your jump ring. I've got quite a big jump ring, I think we've given you slightly smaller ones than that. And then you can tie it on to catch the jump ring. Just feed it through your thread and your jump ring a few times, and then you can do the normal knot that you do in your hand stitching. So take your needle through the loop before you pull it tight, and then again do the thing where you pull it and try and kind of lose the thread over here, and then you can cut it off close to it so you don't have that kind of horrible end sticking out. And there we go. With your thread wrapping you can also do fun things like these covered words. If you take some wire, and what you might want to do is just have a little see of how much wire you're going to need for it by just bending out the letters. I might just do a simple little M for make me. You can cut this wire, don't use fabric scissors, but you can kind of use any old scissors, it does cut. But yeah, don't use your special scissors for it because then you might blunt them. Okay, so I'll do a little M, something like that. Flatten it out, and then you want to do some wool longer than the wire, so you've got ends you can trail off. I'm just going to do mine like this. The thicker your wool, the thicker your letters will be, or whatever. You can do any kind of shape, it doesn't have to be a word. Okay. And then when you start wrapping, start a little bit before your wire so the end of the wire disappears. You don't want the end poking out. We've just used garden wire because it's a bit thicker, but you could use any kind of wire. And then you just wrap and wrap and wrap, and you can change colour, you can do all kinds of things with this. It takes a while. It's quite meditative though, the process of wrapping. And here is my finished little M. You can, for the love here, I've done a little hand stitch so the E stays in place.